Hello and welcome to another thrilling instalment of Krush Dev Diary. In this episode we'll be seeing the effects of the changes that I made with regards to the arena. That was my main goal. You'll probably notice some differences straight away, but let's have a look through the changelog. Let's see what I did. First up, I reduced the multiplier reset delay from 90 frames to 60, which just it made it slightly more difficult to get the large multipliers, because that's where the big scores are. So, now your double crushes, your triple crushes are a little bit tougher to sustain. I was noticing with a few targets on the field, it was actually quite easy to keep the chain going for quite a while. So you were seeing, octa crushes, deca crushes. I think there's even dodeca crushes in the file somewhere. So a minor balance change. Next up, the phase colors have changed. You'll notice the arena is a different color. The colors were a little bit drab before, and they weren't really distinct from one another. So I've decided to, I think there's going to be 5 phases, and they're all going to be pretty distinct. You'll also notice on the start of a new game, it goes through the traffic light color cycle. So we've just gone from blue phase to purple phase. And now there's 2 targets. The traffic light on the initial countdown, that was kind of a last minute addition, but I kind of like it, so I might keep it. So I think now we start with the blue phase, we go to purple, and then I think we go around the color wheel all the way to orange. So everything kind of gets a bit hotter. I want to say it's blue, purple, pink, red, orange, something like that. Anyway, it's a little bit more colorful now, so that's an improvement. Next up, normal variegation, slight color differences. Yes, you'll notice each of the tiles is a slightly different shade now. I've given them a slightly randomized normal, which means they reflect light in a different way. It's a subtle effect, but it adds a little bit of texture to the arena, and it also forms macro patterns, so you can see the movement slightly more easily as the screen scrolls, certainly under faster movement. I think it's an improvement. It kind of, I don't know, it adds a bit of texture, which is nice. That's one of the things I was going for. Next up, fixed tile visibility bug. Yes. Now, the game's only supposed to draw the tiles that are on screen, but at some point I must have changed something, and I broke that, so it was drawing all of the tiles all of the time. So in kind of preemptive optimization, I actually fixed a bug. Because I was doing some work on tile selection. I needed to do that for another feature, which you might have noticed, some of the missing tiles, but we'll get onto that. But now it only draws the tiles that are visible on screen, which, it doesn't make much of a difference in terms of performance, if I'm honest. The game runs pretty well on my system. I think it runs on my laptop well as well. But obviously, the more stuff we add, the slower things will get. So it's always wise to stay on top of your optimizations. But as a side effect of that, I also did some logic to do with selecting tiles and translating from tile coordinates to absolute coordinates, which was pretty important when it came to interactions between the car, which has free movement, and the tiles, which are on a grid. Because, of course, now there is a degree of interactivity between the arena and the car. I don't think I've fallen down one of the holes yet, but that's another thing I added. The holes. They're not quite as pretty as I would have liked. In fact, we're just not rendering a tile in the in the holes. At some point, I'd like to sort of draw the 4 walls and sort of have like an infinite pit into darkness. But I didn't get around to doing that. That would require a change to the renderer for each of the tiles, so that might come later. But for now, there are holes. They're just randomly populated on the map creation. But one thing I want to do eventually is have them randomly appear. I want it to be fair. I don't want a tile to suddenly disappear whilst you're about to drive over it. I want it to, be, relatively fair. But there are now holes, and you can fall down them if you're not careful. I'm fairly generous when it comes to collision detection. You can edge over them slightly, but as soon as your center point goes into the hole, that's it, you're done. You fall out of the map, game over. Which actually, it kind of adds a sort of a secondary challenge. You've got to dodge and weave around them, which means you can't always go at full tilt. So yeah, I kind of like them. I think the holes do add something. I'm probably going to start with a complete arena and, like I say, add holes as time goes on, but that will come. What else did I do? I was hoping to have different tile types. Well, there are holes. but I didn't really have much of a chance to work on tile textures. I've still got the one tile. There you go, there's a hole. I've still got the one tile texture, with the exception of the center tile, which, if you notice, is slightly different. It has a little, recess in it. So, yeah. That was about all the variegation I had time to do. But getting the holes working and some of the, bug fixing and the variegation and... yeah, I'm reasonably happy with the progress I made. I think the arena's looking a bit more colourful, a bit more varied, and we've just started to introduce some interactive elements, which is nice. Maybe at some point in the next few weeks we'll have another session with the arena. We'll polish up the look of the holes a little bit, make them look a bit more hole-like, and maybe consider some collidable blocks as well. One thing that's pretty cool is if you collide with the sides of the arena, depending on how fast you're going, you can actually stall your engine, so it's possible to be left vulnerable while the bulldozer's bearing down on you. Now, eventually, the bulldozer's going to get faster and faster and faster. So this could be, I mean, if you take a bad knock and you're out for the count, it's going to bear down on you really quick. So it might be a bit pants-soilingly exciting. I'll put that on the box. Anyway, that's about all the changes I had time to do. I think the game is looking a little bit better. There have definitely been some visual changes, which is nice. It's always good to see that. So, today, what's on the agenda today? The agenda today is actually quite important from the game's perspective. We are going to look at the difficulty ramp, which is an essential part of Krush. Essentially, the game has to get more and more difficult the longer you play it. I'm going to do this in a large number of ways, and they're all going to fiendishly compound. There's going to be some interactive elements in the arena that change. The bulldozer's going to get faster. Targets are going to get smaller. And they'll probably add more and more hazards to the arena as time goes on. So your failure will be inevitable. That's the whole idea. Unfortunately, I've got a couple of other things to get done today, so I'm not sure if I'm going to have a full day's worth of dev, but I'm going to have a go at it anyway. And I think I can do the basics. And we'll see. Maybe I'll lay the groundwork for some fancier stuff in another session. So, thank you very much for watching, and do join me next time when we edge ever closer to Krush becoming a finished game. Alright, thank you. Farewell.